Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another Heart of the Swarm beta game. Today it is going to be a PvZ. It was sent to me from Ziktomini, so I'm going to introduce him first. He's the blue Zerg player in the lower right. He plays for Team Western Wolves. He is the Wizard Zerg. He's done very well for himself. He's done some really great showings. WCS UK finalist. He's just generally been a cool guy, and the only thing that some people may say is that sometimes he's really on form, other times he's just not quite there, and I guess that's an arguable point, but I think, to be honest, he's a top quality player, one of the best UK players going, and so therefore I'm always excited to cast his games. And now his opponent is in the top left. It's the red Protoss. It is dtGsCar, and some Korean tag there. I'm not quite sure if this is a Smurf count or whether it is just someone called Car, but I know they're in Grandmasters, and I know that they are therefore likely to be pretty good at the game. So in terms of strategy, we've got Pylon coming down, so a fast expansion, probably going to be a Nexus first on this map is the most likely thing. Meanwhile, for Ziktomini, it should be a pull into hatch, then a third hatch fairly quickly, usually around 4 to 5 minutes. Not much has changed there. The only thing that would really shake that up is if rather than a Nexus first, it was a Gateway expand. But just due to the Pylon being on the low ground, that's fairly unlikely, to be honest. So all in all, this should be a standard game now. Nothing too crazy should be going on. Nothing insane should happen at any point in the future. So that just means that we can sit back, we can think comfortably, we can theory craft a little bit about what these two could go for in the mid-game, because that's where the exciting stuff really starts happening. Ziktomini has probably the most options, I would argue, in the... well, he's got a lot of options, not the most maybe, but he could go for Roach Hydra, he could go for Swarm Host Hydra, he could go for Swarm Host Corruptor, he could go for Muter. All viable, all very effective in Heart of the Swarm, and basically he can then transition it into Vipers very nicely out of a lot of those things to just grab units in, abduct those key things such as Colossi or any air units that Car decides to go for. Meanwhile, for Car, it's possible that he could go for anything from a Stargate to some quick DTs to a greedy third to 5-gate pressure. The one thing I haven't been seeing much in Heart of the Swarm is something like the Immortal Sentry all-in. It just seems to be a bit less common. I don't know, if I'm honest, how much that's just due to it not being effective, and how much just people wanting to try new strategies. But the big hit that Broodlord, that the Immortal Sentry all-in has to deal with now is, of course, that Roach Hydra is getting really popular, and as such, you never quite know that actually will this be a worthwhile push to make. So for the time being, we've just got the Nexus down, just completing, we've got the Gateway on its way, the Cannon on its way, the first two gas for Car. Meanwhile, the third base is going down for Ziktomini, his natural nearly complete, hasn't taken any gas yet, and I doubt he will for about another 20 supply worth of drones. So that's what we really need to look out for, keep an eye on. Just see here as well, the Car just knocking out these unbuildable rocks, because why not? The Cannon might as well get its worth. A quick third base is viable for Protoss on this map. You can take this quite quickly if you knock down the rock tower, although some Protoss players choosing to take this base because then they can position their army here and be very easily defended on both the natural and the third. So I like this map. I think it's a really cool map with a lot of different options available to it, but quick 4 bases are very viable, so it is a macro map to the max. So what that means, just swarm hosts and things like that definitely will get a showing. We should see a good bit of back and forth, and there's also quite a lot of dead space where airplay becomes effective, but we should see the choice out of Car shortly because his cybernetics core has just finished, so we should see the reveal on what kind of tech path he's wanting to take and when he's wanting to take. This probe is wandering across. It's going to be a robotic facility, so nothing too out of the ordinary yet. Meanwhile, for Ziktomini, just happily patrolling around with these Zerglings, making sure that no cannons go down, making sure that he's got good vision everywhere for proxy pylons or anything like that. Should be able to spot this single probe that's on its way down towards the potential 4th base of Ziktomini, just seeing whether it's here or here, because some Zerg players do still take this base, but the downside to that is the destructible rocks, but more so this big dead area of space. It makes it very difficult, and if Protoss forces get here-ish, then you run into some problems. But as we can see, the probe has now scouted the third, knows everything's looking okay. Meanwhile, Ziktomini is getting up his Roach Warrior, and he's got 2 gas. Will probably get his 3rd and 4th gas in the next minute or so, most likely. And for Car, well, he's just going to be sitting here. He's going to get out his Mothership Core, getting the +1 out. So it's still looking potentially like it could be some aggression, but with the Observer coming out, just going to get some scouting information first. The tech path's not yet massively revealed. All we know is that it's going to be a Robo. Could be a Robotics Bay coming down fairly soon, going into Quick Colossi. That's something that would be effective against Roach Hydra, but then not so effective against other compositions, such as, for example, a lot of roaches. A big roach push would really beat that. So we do still have the 3 additional gateways coming down. That takes up to 4 gates with the Robo. Could see some Immortals as well. That's another thing that can potentially come out. But Ziktomini now taking his 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th gas all on their way. So he's going up to the full 6 gas fairly early on. That's going to allow him to get lots of upgrades, lots of tech. Also potentially get out an awful lot of Hydras and Roaches. So we're just waiting to see whether it gets an Infestation Pit, in which case it's likely to be Swarm Host, or whether we're going to see a Spire for Mutas. And there goes down the Spire. So Mutalisks will be on the cards for Ziktomini, and as a result, we need to just see Car tech towards something that will deal with that well, because currently with just 4 gates it won't be too good, but he is getting up his 3rd gate, his 3rd Nexus, and as such shouldn't be in a terrible spot. This Mothership Core apparently wanted to come in here, just taking a couple of shots at this Queen, preventing from being able to run away. Also the Time Warp hitting the gas and also the minimal patch just means that it won't work too well, but now the 2nd Queen coming in, the Mothership Core does need to hightail it out of there ASAP, does manage to get away, but this Time Warp does actually delay mining quite substantially. So that in itself is something that is usually a good move to make. Also sees this Speedling move out. That means that now Car can get in a position where he's going to be able to defend that, try and hold it off, getting this wall off, getting the cannon there. As such, the Speedling shouldn't be able to get through, but there is a small gap there, so this gateway is going to take an awful lot of damage, and force fields are going to be needed, but there they go. Just in time. I got a little bit panicky there, as you may have noticed from my voice, thinking that Ziktomini could punch straight through and this game could be over very quickly. What we see for the moment is a lot of Sentries, a lot of Immortals. No other real major tech other than this Twilight Council coming down, so hopefully that will get Blink. I don't know, I don't believe that the Spire has been spotted, even though there is an Observer sitting right there, it doesn't know that that's coming down. And as such, maybe Card isn't aware that it's going to be a Mutaplay, but nonetheless is getting out the Templar Archives. That means that he's going to have the option to Storm, he's going to have the option to get out Archons, and he's also got Blink coming out. So he is getting the stuff he needs to deal with this. But Ziktomini, knowing that a 3rd base is coming, is starting his 4th already. He can probably start on a 5th relatively quickly as well. This top base isn't too hard to hold either. So just generally speaking, Zerg players can be very expansion happy on this map, as can all races really. So as such, that's something to look out for. Ziktomini now getting his Infestation Pit, could just be going straight up towards Hive, we'll wait to see. But it could also be a couple of Swarm Hosts. So in come the Mutas, they're going to come straight punching up here. They need to start taking this out. Zerglings are able to start streaming in now, and this is a bit of a problem for Car. Where are the Mutas going to go? They're coming straight down towards this 3rd base. There is the Mothership Core. That gets sniped up there instantly before it can get a Photon Overcharge. But as we can see, Speedlings have made it in to the natural, into the main base, and Zerglings are just attacking everywhere. The Mutas are attacking everywhere. This is so micro-intensive right now for Car. He's got to try and deal with this as best he can. That Immortal definitely going to go down. Meanwhile, the Zerglings at the natural seem to have got cleaned out, but the Zerglings in the main are still doing good damage. The Immortal will fall. The Zealots should be able to clean most of this up now, but at what cost? Well, the Mutas are still coming in. 28 workers have already been killed. These few Stalkers remaining have been taken out. There's some Archons morphing. The Mothership Core was back up, gets taken straight back down again. These Mutas are being incredibly cost effective, especially with their regeneration. They can just come straight in and start going for it. So now the big concern are these Archons. You don't want to clump up your Mutas over the Archons, but there's some good magic boxing going on, and as such the Archons are going to start going down incredibly fast, and with that the Mutas have done a huge amount of damage with the Stalker warp in. They might be in a bit of trouble and should pull back now. Of course, even this one Muta, which is down to like 10 health, will only take 100 seconds to get back up. So Car just deciding, actually, GG. I can't win. That was a really anticlimactic GG, just to the point where it's like, okay, you've killed all my workers, I can't do anything. So, that was the end of that game in what was... I was thinking the Car was going to keep going, but... yeah, Ziktomini won. Just great push, knocking out that Zeta, completing the wall off, allowing the speedlings to come in, attacking the natural, main, and third simultaneously was just too much for Car, who did go quite greedy with his play. So thank you very much all for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe. And I hope to see each and every one of you tomorrow for yet another new game. Bye for now.